Hello, this is going to be a quick instruction on how to assemble the Components Express EN-M4 mount for machine vision cameras.
So it's going to come in this package. It's going to be your hardware that's going to be in this bag, and then the rest of the actual physical components are going to be in this foam cutout piece. Move our box to our side, and we'll kind of do a quick layout here of all the individual components. That'll be kind of everything that comes into the box. And then to actually assemble it, you're going to have your bag of hardware and then your Allen keys. So here we have a 5mm, a 4mm, and a 1/8. So first we'll just get all of our hardware out onto the table. So you're going to have these two pieces, which are both going to be M6, and then we're going to have another two here, more M6, and then 2 1/4-20s and more M6s here. And then we're going to have an O-ring, and then we're going to have one more M6 with a taper head on it. All the rest of these are going to be flat heads here, and then we're going to have our 2 socket head pieces. These 2 pieces here are going to be for mounting either to the camera, a plate, or one of our mounts. Okay, so you'll have all your hardware pieces kind of laid out in front of you, just so we are all on the same page of the pieces that we're talking about. So we're gonna have our base piece, our top swivel, our bottom swivel, and then our upper swivel. And then for our hardware, we're gonna have M6 flathead cap screws, more M6 shorter flathead cap screws, M6 socket head cap screws, and 1/4-20 socket head cap screws, and an O-ring. And then the Allen keys that you're going to need to assemble this or go to any of your other hardware, depending on what you choose to go to, you're going to need a 5mm Allen key, a 4mm Allen key, and a 1/8. The 1/8 is for the 1/4-20 hardware, and the rest of it is if you were just to stay with metric, you only need these 2 keys. So in order to first assemble this, rough assemble it before we actually go to our enclosure piece or camera and or any other accessory, we're just going to take this upper piece here. And we're going to put the O-ring into this groove here. It's just going to sit inside there. There's nothing tight. We just press it into there. And then we're going to take our base piece. We're going to set it in there. Flip it over so we can see. And then we're going to line up these 2 tapped holes with the 2 through holes that are there. So we can make sort of a tension sort of sandwich in here. We'll take these M6 flathead cap screws and take these on both sides. Take our 4mm key. We're just going to snug them down for right now. We're not going to tighten them or anything like that super tight because we're not trying to lock it in position. We're just trying to get it to where this assembly is floating in together. The main screw that comes in here will come separate in our hardware kit. This is going to be the M6 as well, but it's going to have a tapered head on it. This tapered head is to expand this collar here. So we will go ahead and we'll tighten this up. We're just going to snug it. We're not going to expand the sleeve or anything yet, just to avoid the hardware rattling around. Then, if we are going to go to a piece of extruded rail, like such as 80/20 or any sort of metric extruded rail, that's what these 2 flathead cap screws are for. And then you would go to your T-nuts, and those go through these 2 countersunk holes here, and that would go onto your rail. These 2 holes are just for access for our machining purposes here. You can use them for whatever you want, but they are not to any standard that you would normally use. And then let's say that we are going to go to our piece, depending if you're staying metric or if you're going to standard. So like on our enclosures, we either go to an M6 or you can go to a 1/4-20, depending on what the pattern is that you're going to. And that's what's going to mount onto the bottom of our piece. So if we were going to go to our camera here, we'll go here, and for our purposes right now, we're going to go to the 1/4-20. And we'll show both here. So I'm going to take the 1/4-20 hardware that's here. It's with these low profile socket head cap screws. And we're just going to snug both of these up. And then we will tighten it completely with our key. So now that's rigidly mounted to here. And now what we want to do is be able to set our position on the rest of our mount. So in this case, I have it set up so that we would be looking either up or down at something at a more extreme angle. So we'll take this and we'll kind of rotate it into the position that we want to be. Let's say that we were looking off of a rail down onto something. So now I can put this here. Let's say it was looking down. So now I can take this and I can expand my sleeve. And then just going back a couple steps here, if we were to set this angle for what we want to do, we would, let's just say that we're mounting on a rail. We could rotate it into some position, and then let's say that we want to lock that down. Now we can take this and we can completely tighten it in the position that we want to be. We'll completely compress the O-ring that's there, compress the two pieces of metal together that's there, so that we shouldn't have any rotation. So now that's locked in position, and now we'll go to our piece here. Let's say we're going to look down at something. I'm just going to do this by hand here, but we'll just set our angle and tighten it. So we're looking down at something. So now it's all where we want it to be. And then let's say that we were going to a metric application. So let's break this loose again. So we'll loosen that. And we're going to take these out again with the 1/8 inch Allen key. And break loose both these low profile screws. And we'll remove them. These same through holes can be used for the same metric hardware. It's going to be M6. Set these off to the side. And in this case, let's say we're going to be looking up at something and we want to change our rotation or angle, whatever you may call it. We're going to take our 4mm Allen key. So now we're going to be dealing with just metric. We'll loosen that to where we want it to. We can adjust our angle to wherever it is that we need it to be. We'll just line up this mark with, let's say we're going to go for 35.5 degrees. We can mark down what our setups are so that we can use them later. Tighten both of these down. And now let's say we're going to be looking up. So this same piece, you can either use it, again, forward or backwards on here, depending on what you're trying to do. So in this case, we'll say that we're trying to look up at something this time. So we're going to take it and we're going to go to our metric side here. So take it, flip it upside down, take our metric hardware, which is going to be M6, and we're going to take our 4mm Allen key, same thing that we use for the rest of the base components, and we're going to tighten this down. Make sure that we're completely tight, and depending on your application, you could Loctite this. I don't know what your environment is, but you could use blue Loctite, or if you need something more permanent, you could use red. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into our expansion pin here, and we're going to set it so that we're looking up at something in this case. So I'll just have it on this angle or wherever we want to be. And we're going to take our 5mm key and we're going to tighten it just by hand here. I'll show the other camera as well. And I'm just going to completely tighten it here. Depending on what you're doing, you may have more access to this. You could use some T-handles, or you can say it whatever other angle that you want to. But we have these indication markings on here, so you're going to do about every 45 degrees for where you want to be. And we'll just tighten it down. It's kind of hard to do here without it actually mounted on the bottom, but it's the only way I can get the camera in here. And now we're in looking up application, but with metric hardware.